Hello, everyone. Welcome to Chasing Collectibles Catchup. My name is Tyler,
I'm Tim.
and we have a exciting guest with us here today. And Tim, why don't you tell our viewers a little bit about our guest?
Oh, this is my friend Larry Allen, who is a comic book dealer who goes to a number of shows and even does a few of his own. Larry's been doing shows for a while, and I'm hoping, or we're gonna go over some of that today with Larry.
Thank you for being with us, Larry.
Sure, I'm excited to be here.
Well, yeah, thanks. Just like Tyler said, thanks for being here with us. So Larry, just to start things off, I was wondering, where were you raised, and what was it like for you growing up, when you did with comics and everything like that?
I was raised in Akron, Ohio, back in the 60s, early 60s. Back then, believe it or not, I know a lot of young people wouldn't believe it now, but you could only get 3 stations on TV. So you didn't have a whole lot of options, especially if the president was on or something like that. So my mom bought me my first comic book when I was 8 years old to encourage me to read. Because a lot of times, there wasn't nothing on TV. So that began my love affair with comics back in 1968. So over 50 some years now.
Wow, that's awesome. So how did that, I guess, because I think all of us have like a moment where we got our first comic, and then as you kind of move from like just a casual comic buyer to eventually like doing, selling books and all that. So how did you make that transition, to like being a dealer and all that?
Well, like I said, I collected comics for many, many years before I decided to sell some. And mostly, I guess I have to say, my wife was saying, you got to do something about them comics because they were everywhere. They were, in every closet. They were really, really building up. And, so I decided to give it a try.
I'm sure my wife would love for me to do the same thing.
I'm sure she would.
But so just to, just wondering, can you give me a sense of what the comic book industry was like back then when you started collecting?
Well, believe it or not, I don't think there was many, as you would say, Comic-Cons, but there was a comic shop on about every corner. I mean, there was comic shops everywhere, and you would see comics at the flea markets. When I got into it, it was the Silver Age 12 cent. And a lot of times, you go to the flea market and you could buy them for a nickel, so dollar allowance every week. So, that don't sound like a lot now, but back then I thought I was rich because I would figure out how many comics I could buy. And, that's what I look forward to. True story, when they raised comics from 12 cents to 15 cents, I thought it should be a federal crime because it cut into my comic buying.
Oh man, now you got books that are what, $3.99, and sometimes they charge you $9.99 for the thicker ones. So
yeah, it's a lot of difference.
I've watched some movies, and the way I can tell the movies are well made is if they're in like the 70s or the 60s and the characters are in a pharmacy. I'll look in the background and they've got comics on the wall. I'm like, oh, they did their research because they have comics in the pharmacy.
Yeah. Well, back then you had comics in drugstores, you had them in Woolsworth, even some supermarkets carried them.
Mm. So do you have a favorite superhero?
Well, my first love was the Fantastic Four. And even till this day, I'm a big Fantastic Four fan. Robin, hand me one of them comics. I'm going to show you something I picked up today. Uh, it's not the Fantastic Four, but they're kind of cool. But I picked up this graded copy of the Incredible Hulk #4.
Oh wow.
That's a very very hard comic to get. It's a 2.5 graded, and I guess the Incredible Hulk is my second love behind the Fantastic Four.
We were
Oh
actually
my
just
goodness.
talking about Fantastic Four the other day about how that's like, the really the Marvel title that started a lot of this, that Stan Lee made and that the first family in Marvel.
Yeah, well, DC came out with the Justice League of America first, and DC was just killing it with sales. So Stanley and Jack Kirby said, we got to do something, to compete with that. So, of course, they came up with the Fantastic Four, and a couple years later, they came up with the X-Men.
Just to briefly go back to what you had just said about the Incredible Hulk. I have here, Larry, two of the books that I have actually purchased from you, and these are probably two, not the biggest, but definitely two of the biggest keys in my collection here. So we got Incredible Hulk number 6 here.
I remember it well.
Yeah, and I remember buying issue 5 from you.
I remember that as well. I appreciate you buying them.
I think it was one of the first times I had met you and talked to you for a while. And yep, I believe it was Nick who introduced me to you at a show.
Cool.
So I was really appreciative of that. So those, so yeah, I'm a big Hulk fan too. And I'm a big Spider-Man. So, another question I was wondering, do you have any favorite writers or artists that you draw to?
Well, I was always a big, of course, Jack Kirby artist, and Alan Bellman, God rest his soul. We lost Alan, a year or so ago. He was a good friend of mine. And if you go back and look at some of his old artwork of Captain America and stuff back in the day, it was just awesome. And but those are my two favorite artists right now.
And actually, I had a question I was thinking of, and this isn't on the list that we sent you, but this always kind of burns in my head whenever I talk to somebody who, was really buying. I mean, you said you grew up in the 60s, so you were buying like Silver Age books off the rack for, like you said, a dime and then 15 cents and all that. And when I see a book that I bought at cover price like 10 years ago doing really well, it kind of amazes me now. But I can't, like, how does it feel to see like books that you grew up with that are so hot now when people are wanting to buy them and you see them on the comic racks at shows? Like, that's got to be pretty cool to see.
It really is. It's exciting, and just to see how much they're desired and what they've gotten in value. And then, you think sometimes, man, I had that comic one
Mhm.
time or another.
Yeah.
And, and being a young kid, I wished I'd have took a little bit when I first got started, a little better care of my comics. But I was a typical kid. I would roll it up and stick it in my back pocket.
Right.
Mm.
That's a common thing we heard at Nickel Spot was people would say, oh, I had this back in the day, or I left for school and then my mom threw them or gave them away. That was a
Oh
constant
yeah.
theme. Well, speaking of
I'm happy.
shows, seeing books at shows, so you're both a dealer and now you're like putting on shows. So how did that come to happen that you're not only a comic book buyer, not only a comic book dealer, but now you're actually putting on your own shows? What's that like?
Well, I just wanted to get involved. I wanted to have what you might say a true Comic Con. So many cons have become all about everything but comics.
Mhm.
To me, you walk in and it's a big flea market and you can buy jewelry, you can do all this stuff. And, I know there's a place for everything and everything, but for a lot of people, it's about comics. And a true hardcore comic collector hates those pop culture cons. So I started off, and me and my wife did a couple little shows in Arcadia, North Carolina. And finally, I decided, I said, well, I'm going to go to the big show, go big time. So on March 13th, which is a couple weeks away, the Carolina Vintage Mini Con will be held in Clemens, North Carolina at the Event Center. It's only $2 admission. It's right off I-40 on Ramada Drive. I got some of the best comic dealers from the East Coast that are going to be there. And also got a couple legendary former wrestlers, George South and Rick Link's going to be there doing autographs and stuff. And we got, I kind of wanted to limit the artists, which is a little different philosophy than a lot of shows. But I got 5 of the best artist talents around. I got Greg Bo Watson, who's awesome. Man Eating Comics. My mind's going blank. Chris McJunkin. And I don't know whether y'all have ever seen any of the work of Rodney Bennett. Rodney Bennett is phenomenal. And also got Bare Butt Comics and Brian Hart, who's going to be there. So some great artists there. And I hope everybody will come out. I'd like to invite everybody. It's going to be a great show.
That sounds like a great lineup.
Yeah. Definitely does.
$2 admission. I mean, that's like, that's
Yeah, I've got dealers coming from not only just here in North Carolina, South Carolina, but I've got them coming from Virginia. A couple are coming from Richmond. So, these are a little bit different vendors than you'll see at some of your normal cons. Plus, then we'll include, most of our legendary comic vendors that here in the Carolinas.
excellent.
Just another question, Larry. Now I know you said that your wife was she kind of pushed you to start pushing out some of your collection and everything when you started selling. But is there anything like, have you held on to, and you don't have to tell me what it is or anything like that, but do you still have your own, collection and maybe something that you would really love to own one day that because I know for me, I have, my own list and of books that I'm always working on, and and there's quite a few keys on there.
Yeah, I do have my own collection of comics, personal comics, which are some phenomenal stuff there. And I have my own collection of artwork that I've gathered through the years. But the one comic that's at the top of my list that's always escaped me, and it's my dream book. And here we go back to Fantastic Four, but Fantastic Four #1. I seen on Facebook where Sam Finley picked up a copy the other day, and man, my mouth watered.
Man.
Yeah, that's real cool.
Yeah.
My brother, he also collects comic books. He's a couple years younger than me. He lives in Hawaii, and now he has a collection that's just out of this world.
So
can you provide the address? Kidding.
somewhere close to Honolulu.
Okay. That's good enough for us.
So all right, so I mean on that, Larry, or Tyler, have you got any other questions for Larry?
No, I think this was great, and we really enjoyed hearing about your con. It'd be fun to come up there, and it sounds like a good deal. And I feel somewhat similar to you when it comes to conventions. I mean, I do enjoy the pop culture stuff, but Tim has mentioned this, that sometimes you get sidetracked because like you're looking for a book and all of a sudden I see a cool action figure, like, oh, I love the Riddler, let's get that. And then I realized that my comic budget just went down. So it's cool to have when you have just a comic show, it kind of makes you focus, so that's appreciated for our wallets, and our wives appreciate it too.
Oh yeah. And also, guys, I want to throw something in there. I've already signed a contract for my next con, which will be in the same location on October 16th. We're going to have some big plans for it. So hopefully this con will continue to grow, and we'll see where it goes.
Yeah. Are you thinking about making it at least, a twice annual thing, or just kind of see where it goes at this point, or?
Actually, I'm thinking about doing it a couple times a year.
Excellent. What's been so nice is there's so many great shows that you can go to, and I mean the comic community here it's awesome. Everyone's super friendly, and that's great that your con is going to be another show that we can go to, and like you said, see some unique people that you wouldn't normally see at some of these other Carolina shows.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to seeing everybody and seeing you guys, and want to thank both of you for giving me this opportunity for this interview.
No, thank you, Larry. And yeah, I'm planning on making it out there. And it's been really been fun, and I guess with that we'll close and see you at the show.
Yep.
All right. Take care, guys.
See you at the show. Thank you.